Hey everybody, this video is going to be primarily focused on Black history, and I wanted to establish the connection between the Moors and other videos on my channel on the Irish. All I want to do is get closer to some semblance of the truth, not bring anyone down. Now to begin, we're going to start with the Moors. Black history has been suppressed, and I think we could all learn from this video. The Moors are indigenous, enlightened, melanated peoples. Evidence suggests that the term Moor means more than just black people, as the Berbers are an indigenous tribe that are white with blue and green colored eyes. Contrary to popular belief, the term is not synonymous with Islamic or any specific Arab or African religion, civilization, or ethnicity. But this is the term that I'm going to be using in this presentation to refer to black people, or what we know as African American. The origin of the English term Moor is the Greek word mavro, which literally means black, blackened, or charred. It has been used to describe black for things such as the Mavri Thalassa, which refers to the Black Sea. The Moors have a rich history, though we're never told about this, and I'll tell you why towards the end. The Moors had high civilizations in Egypt, Sumer, Persia, Canaan, Greece, and the ancient Indus Valley. Now remember guys, I'm trying to look at this from all angles, so in my opinion, I do believe at this time, these were a melting pot of mixed cultures. It wasn't just blacks, it wasn't just whites. There are many different opinions when it comes to the original homeland of the Moors. I'm going to give my honest perspective, and it might be different than what you may think. In this video, I'm going to show you the connection between the Moors and the Irish, and I'm going to do this using the myths of the Tuatha De Danann. So here's the one question I want you to ask yourself. If white people are albinos, then where did blue and green eyes come from? Where did red hair come from? I don't think it was a mutation, and I don't agree that white people are new on this earth, and I don't agree that white people are aliens. Okay, now the secret to all this mystery is within the ancient god races. The earliest Greek and Roman authors often refer to Hyperboreans and Fomorians. Some modern authors consider these to be possible references to Celts. Hyperboreans were originally a mythical sacred race who were often associated with the god Apollo. They dwelt at the ends of the earth, the word Hyperborean meaning beyond the north wind, and lived long lives in peace with themselves and their neighbors. Their legends are later intermingled with British, Northern Celtic, and Germanic cultures by ancient authors. The name Fomorian has many meanings, but to the earliest ancient Greeks, they were a mysterious race who lived in the mist and darkness at the ends of the earth. But later Greek authors clearly describe the movements of a group of people called the Fomorians. The Fomorians were a race of beings that lived underground. I want to clarify before I go any further that this is going to connect with the nature of our cosmology now. These beings belong to different realms. I don't want anyone getting the idea that I'm trying to imply that any race is superior to the other. Okay? So these Hyperboreans were the ancient Irish, or the Tuatha De Danann, and the Fomorians are the Fomorian race. The Tuatha De Danann were a godlike race of beings with blonde, red hair, blue-green eyes. The Fomorians were a supernatural race of giants that had mastered psychic abilities and had black skin. I have read many different sites that talk about the history of the Moors, and I've only seen a couple that mention the Fomorians. If it does mention the Fomorians, they end the article implying that black people were the original inhabitants of Ireland, which I disagree. The Fomorians were foreigners, Fomorian meaning from far across the sea. Let me put it in this way, the Fomorians were from Lemuria, and I believe them to be a mix of black and Mongolian. The ancient myth of the Tuatha De Danann is an Irish legend of the Fomorians or the Lemurians coming into Hyperborea or Hibernia. This next part might seem bizarre, but just bear with me. Okay, so when we talk about all this stuff, we're talking about a spiritual reality or existence, before material reality had materialized. Material reality gets more and more material as we continue to experience this existence that Saturn created for us. But there was a time, believe it or not, when the physical world was not yet built, you could say. Meaning we lived in a dream reality that was co-created with all the gods. Saturn created the physical realm. Now, different planets or different stars create different races. We have one race, which is white, which is Hyperborea, and it's under the sun, Mercury. Then we have Lemuria, that is actually under the sun, Mars. Okay, so I'm going to explain this in a simple way. I promise I'm going to go more in depth later, but basically, these are spiritual realms. The different planets are like their own suns. Also, forget about the time aspect to this for right now. A lot of people think of this as a linear progression when you're talking about Atlantis, Lemuria, Hyperborea. Ask yourself, what is time? Time is different on the spirit realms. So we've all heard of the flat disk cosmology, and I'm sure many of you have heard of the idea that there being inner and outer lands. But look at it this way. When you get to the border of what we call an ice wall, you are really going to the edge of one realm. These realms are in layers, and I believe they can shift and move about. There's obviously not a lot of research when it comes to Lemuria, but one of the main sources is from Helena Blavatsky. Okay? And I know many of you guys don't agree with her works, but I'm just using whatever research we have and whatever's available. So please send me anything that you have that could shed some more light on this subject. But here is from her book, The Secret Doctrine. Quote, "The third root race was the first race with physical bodies, and they were described as a black race of three-eyed giants who inhabited the lost continent of Lemuria. It is believed that this continent existed where the Indian and Pacific Oceans now are. Modern theosophists identified Lemuria with the actual ancient supercontinent of Gondwana." Also note how in the legends of the Tuatha De Danann, the King Balor has a superpower with his eye. He has 3 eyes. Balor's eyes proved to be the most powerful tool in battle as it had the power to kill all that it beheld. Okay? If he had 3 eyes, this was a time before we lost our pineal glands, and magic was very real. So hopefully that gives us a little bit of a better understanding, but for the most part, the way you can see this is a half dream, half physical reality. This ancient war took place in Ireland. The invasion of the Fomorians is what we have left of the tale, but let me tell you something interesting. I don't think it was an invasion, I think it was a collaboration. They may have had wars, but somewhere along the line they mated with one another and exchanged knowledge. Also, remember, these are the god races, not humans like us today. The Tuatha De Danann were giants, and the Fomorians were also of great stature and had 3 eyes. So I speculate that these ancient races procreated and gave us all the different variations that we have today, or what we call races. This is where I want to give my own perspective, and it's from my research that the sciences were already developed in Ireland at this time by the Druids. The myths say that the Fomorians had superpowers, not that they were the originators of civilization. Now I don't want this to get controversial, but this is where my research has led me. It's very possible that after these events, this knowledge of the Aryans, Hyperboreans had spread out to all races. So with all that info, I want to add to my understanding of the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians is a cover-up name for the mixed melting pot of peoples that descended from the Hyperboreans and the Lemurians. Quote, "The Phoenicians were indeed extraordinarily gifted men. They were one of the first races to devise and employ a sophisticated alphabet, construct great cities and temples, make paper for writing, and sail the seas of the world. The fact is, they were the Arya, or adepts of the highest order. They were the master architects, astrologers, shipwrights, mariners, healers, and scientists. We believe the Phoenicians were, like the Scythians, originally from the west. They preserved the secrets of megalithic construction and many other ancient arts." End quote. I do believe the arts and sciences originate with Ireland. We also hear Pindar speaking of Hyperborea as the source for the Danube. Pindar says they live in a place which cannot be reached by ships nor land, but in Olympian odes. We also have to take into account Druidic poetry. I realize what I'm saying that may come off the wrong way, but if you just bear with me, there is truth behind it. Saying all that, one question you may ask is, well, why did they cover up the Phoenicians? Or, you want to ask a better question? Why do the Jews hate black people? If you think that sounds like a wild speculation, you can read the Talmud for yourself. I can tell you why. If you've watched my other videos, you know about the connection between the Jews and the Phoenicians. The Jews are mad because they are a mixed race. They don't have the pure Hyperborean blood. From David Goldenberg's The Curse of Ham, a professor of the University of Pennsylvania not long ago summed up the view. In its depth of anti-blackness, Rabbinic Judaism viewed blacks as the people devoid of ultimate worth and redeeming social value. Yep, the Greeks are mixed, Sicilians are mixed. All the different breeds of the modern humans come from the original mixtures of these god race beings. Is this possibly where we get all the different variations of the human form? I want us to work together and search for the deeper truth. We're never going to find it with hating or thinking that one race is better than the other. Yes, my brothers and sisters, we are all made of spirit. Nothing will change that. Let me finish this off with Timaeus. You can see that we've been side by side for thousands of years. In Timaeus, Solon is white, or probably mixed, and the priest of Egypt is a Moor. This is what the priest of Egypt tells Solon. Quote, "As for those genealogies of yours which you just now recounted to us, Solon, they are no better than tales of children. In the first place, you remember a single deluge only, but there were many previous ones. In the next place, you do not know that there formerly dwelt in your land the fairest and noble race of men which ever lived, and that you and your whole city are descended from a small seed or remnant of them which survive. And this was unknown to you, because for many generations the survivors of that destruction died, leaving no written word. For there was a time, Solon, before the great deluge of all, when the cities which now is Athens was first in war and in every way the best governed of all cities, is said to have performed the noblest deeds, and to have had the fairest constitution of any which tradition tells under the face of heaven." Solon marveled at his words, and earnestly requested the priest to inform him exactly in order about these former citizens. "You are welcome to hear about them, Solon," said the priest, "both for your own sake and for that of your city, and above all, for the sake of the goddess who is the common patron and parent and educator of both our cities. She founded your city 1,000 years before ours, receiving from the earth and Hephaestus the seed of your race, and afterwards she found ours, of which the constitution is recorded in our sacred registers to be 8,000 years old." End quote. The common god was Artemis, but it's actually a much older symbol. The common patron and parent educator may have been the androgynous race that I mentioned in other videos, which were the Hyperboreans. The point of this video is to show you that the ancient god races of the Hyperboreans and the Fomorians must have mixed and created the melting pot of cultures that we see today. This is the reason that Black history has been suppressed, because the Greeks, Jews, Romans are upset that their blood is not pure Hyperborean blood. This is the root of racism, the obsession with a pure bloodline. I hope you found this video valuable. It was not my intention to distort this information, but to try and open up the topic for further research. Let's let go of whatever misplaced judgments we have of one another. All that matters is that we ask questions and become more curious. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps with the big puzzle that we know as Tartaria. More content coming soon, and may our minds be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind and ask the question, do I truly understand what this reality is?